Is it?
Okay.
Save on the sugar.
Is that sugar?
I'm repeating myself again. Next week, Mincha Mav is getting earlier and earlier. So far, Chaim and David have said that they prefer to be with the Mincha Mav. Is that all you prefer as well?
Yeah, makes sense.
Until it gets too early.
Until it gets too early, and then we have to do shear.
Then she'll back to 8 o'clock. Okay. So, right. Yeah, Isha, is that work with you? Okay. Very nice. Lots and lots and lots of more. Who is? Did brother come out last night? Or younger, well, his youngest brother or something. Where was Chasna? Okay. Right, so somebody should put it on the group. Is it around? That's gonna be okay. We're up to Daf Mem Beis Amud Beis by the Gemara 2 lines from the bottom. Let me just summarize a tiny bit what we learned yesterday. The halacha is that shaking the Abba Minim is a mitzvah in HaTorah for 1 day around everywhere. Yomi echad b'kpurim, 1 day around the whole world. It's a mitzvah in HaTorah 7 days, lifnei Hashem, that's in the Beis HaMikdash, for 7 days, yes? Arava, which was the mitzvah of walking around the Mizbeach within the Arava, that was a mitzvah for 7 days min HaTorah, only in the Beis HaMikdash. Whenever these things happen to be a Shabbos, we do not do it. So, for example, if the middle of Succa is a Shabbos, we do not shake the Abba Minim on Shabbos. The exception being the first day of Sukkot for Abba Minim and the last day of Sukkot for the Arava. So if a Shana Rabbah would be a Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash, they would still go around with the right? And if the first day of Sukkot was a Shabbos, they would shake the Abba Minim, and the last day for the Shabbos. Today, why? Why, for example, if the second day of Sukkot is a Shabbos, do we not shake the Abba Minim? But if the first day of the Shabbos, we do shake the Abba Minim. Or why by the Arava, if it's the 7th day, we do the Arava, not the 6th day? Just point out, but nowadays we don't keep this halacha. Nowadays, for example, what do we do? Even if Sukkot's first day is a Shabbos, we do not shake the Abba Minim. But this whole Gemara, 99% of the Gemara is going all according to what happened then. So we're analyzing according to what happened then. Says the Gemara, Amai, why can't you shake the lulav on a Shabbos on a normal day, like not the first day? Why not? Till Bambo, the worst it is maximum maybe muktzah. But it Shabbos should be Shabbos. Amar Rabba, Yizeo should be might take it in your hand. And you'll go to an expert to learn how to shake it, to learn how to make the bracha. Top of Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. V'yavirenu arba amas b'shus harabim, and you'll cross 4 amas b'shus harabim. V'hanitamu to shofar, v'hanitamu to Megillah. So the reason we do a blow shofar first day is Rosh Hashanah if it's a Shabbos, or Megillah on Purim, or shake lulav on a Shabbos. Why not? Why not? You might walk in the b'shus harabim 4 amas. Rashi and Tosfos both ask the same question, and that is that regarding carrying, there are 2 distinct isurim. One is carrying it 4 amas l'shus harabim, and one is carrying it from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. So if I'm taking my Abba Minim to an expert to teach me how to wave it, so then why does the Gemara talk about carrying 4 amas l'shus harabim? Why does the Gemara not talk about carrying it from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim, which seemingly perhaps is more common? And Rashi and Tosfos both at great pains to explain that it's not common. It's not common. For example, if you take it from a Carmelis or a Shus Aptur to a Shus Yachid to a Shus Rabim, there's nothing. It's nothing. Mashain came from carrying it in the Shus Rabim's farms. It means if you, let's say, take it from, if I take it, for example, from the basis saw, and I walk from it to another shul, I go to, let's say, to which other shuls, let's say, to MH. The halacha is, I could very well be not being over Issa Deraisa, because could have carried from Carmelis to Shus to Ptur and then to Shus Yachid. Not necessarily. If I carried 4 amas to Shus Rabim, there is chayv. Rashi is another example why you won't be chayv, is if you pick up something with intention to stay in the room, and then afterwards you walk out of the room, the halacha is your potter. Because when you did the Akiva, you had no intention to do the Anocha Nishusavabim. By shaking Wukah Nishusavabim, you would be Chayiv. Tesis questions some of these halachas, and Tesis says some of the Tegilins, and Ma'aseh Tesis, another thing is like this. Most people, when they're walking from Shusachet to Shusavabim, realize they're doing something wrong. Because you're coming from a private domain to public domain. But coming within a Shusavabim, people don't notice they're doing anything wrong. Since they don't notice, therefore, we have to be more machmir about coming the Shusavabim. Okay. Okay, we understand the reason we don't shake lulav on Sukkot, on the Shabbos, is because you might come to carry. Yomi, the first day Sukkot, if it's a Shabbos, should be forbidden. It says, if you remember yesterday, we said that they used to take the Abba Minim to the Beis HaMikdash, and then they would all come and grab, and eventually they would come to hit each other. So what did they establish? Take Abba Minim at home. The Orchen there adds a cheshbon, it's a very nice one, like this. When you take it at home, you'll remember the question is, so you'll take it at home. But the question over here wasn't that you're going to carry the Abba Minim in order to shake it in shul. That wasn't the question. The question is that you'll take it to an expert to ask him how to wave it. And even if you shake the Abba Minim at home, you could end up with that problem. Then says they'll think to themselves like this. Why did they establish you should take it at home? Because they used to take it to Beis HaMikdash the day before Shabbos, and on Shabbos try and find their set and beat each other up. But remembering all that would remind the person, don't carry on Shabbos, because otherwise, why did I need to take it the day before Shabbos to the Beis HaMikdash and then try and find my set there?
Surely the first day is always the day when you take it to
Yes, but because you remember on the first day that you're taking it, that the reason you're taking it at home is simply because of the fact that they used to take it on the day before and then get into a fight, that will remind you inadvertently that you're not allowed to carry it. And therefore, at this stage of the Gemara understood that there will not be a problem. So the Gemara says like this. So that we're up to Gimel Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. Says that's okay after the takana. The current takana, if you remember, before the takana, they used to take it to Beis HaMikdash. What are you going to say? Elovishin the isim in ater begvulin goes to Borabon. Hanoch the less numen ater begvulin goes to Borabon. So the Gemara says that the first day Sukkot, where there's a mitzvah to shake Abba Minim everywhere in the world, so therefore Chazal didn't want to get rid of it. They didn't want to spoil the takana. The rest of Sukkot, when there's no mitzvah to shake Abba Minim, they decided to keep the takana as it is. Nowadays as well, meaning nowadays in Chutz La'aretz, we should be allowed to shake Abba Minim on Shabbos. It says, we don't know which day is the correct day. For example, we keep 2 days Sukkot. Why don't we keep 2 days Sukkot? It's suffix. Since it's a suffix, therefore, we end up with therefore, you can't shake the lulav on the first day Sukkot and be Deiches Shabbos, because for all you know, it's not really the first day Sukkot. So therefore, that's why we don't shake it on Shabbos. Tesis points out that it's not that we literally don't know, because now we have a calendar. Rather, the reason we keep 2 days nowadays is not because we don't know. The reason is we're concerned that maybe a horrible king will take over, make us forget the halachas of the calendar and all the rest, and then we'll get confused. Therefore, we keep the 2 days in case that might happen. But it's the same meaning that there were places that they did not know, and therefore it's as if Chazal established the 2 days as if we don't know. Okay. So the Gemara says, Inu, those who live in Eretz Yisrael, the Yodmi Kvedi Acham, the halachas of when Yom Tov is, they should be allowed to shake the Abba Minim even on Shabbos. You're right. That Eretz Yisrael, we shake the Abba Minim on Shabbos. The Tani Chad, we have 2 brises which seem to contradict. Yom Tov is Shechag, first day Sukkah, Shechol Shabbos, Kolim Nechis Leven the Harabayis. You take your lulav on the day before to where? To the Harabayis. And another Bais says to Shul. What's going on? Do you go on Erev Shabbos to take your Abba Minim to Shul, or do you take it to the Beis HaMikdash? Shema Mino. Comes Beis HaMikdash Kaim, comes Beis HaMikdash Kaim, Shema Mino. So the Gemara says like this. At this stage, much later, the Gemara pushes that in Eretz Yisrael, you shake the Abba Minim even on Shabbos. Why? Because the first day Sukkot is such a special day that you have to shake the Abba Minim everywhere, and therefore it's Deiches Shabbos. Ma'ashenkin in Chutz La'aretz we don't. Why don't we do it in Chutz La'aretz? Because we don't know which day is the real day to be shaking the Abba Minim. And the Gemara proves it from the fact that we have 2 different statements. One is that on Friday, take your Abba Minim to the Beis HaMikdash. And another one says, take your Friday, Abba Minim to shul. Now, where are you talking about? Why are you taking it to shul on Friday? Why not take it to Beis Mikdash? Must be the Beis Mikdash has already been destroyed, and that's why you're taking it to shul on Friday. Is a right that even after Beis Mikdash was destroyed in Eretz Yisrael, you shake the Arba Minim on Shabbos. Now the Gemara establishes how do we know all these halachas? That on the first day Sukkot you have to shake the Arba Minim everywhere. On the rest of Sukkot only in the Beis Mikdash. The Isim in our Torah Gvulim in how do we know this? The Tadiv the Kachtem shtei lekicha b'yad kol echad v'echad. This one's before. But the Kachtem teaches us that I could have said V'lokachta the singular. It says it's in the plural that every single needs to a mitzvah to shake Arba Minim. Lochem, mishalochem, loitis hashovas hagozel, not take a stolen one or a borrowed one. B'yoyim, it could have said V'lokachtem lochem borishon on the first. Why does it have to say B'yoyim borishon? It could have said borishon. B'yoyim, b'afilu b'Shabbos to include Shabbos that you're allowed to shake Arba Minim on Shabbos. Rishon, afilu b'gvulin everywhere. Here Rashi points out, and even others, that till now we've been darshaning words. Here we're not darshaning. It is the simple meaning of the pasuk. I tried to explain this point. Somebody was struggling. I hope it's clear. This pasuk, if you read the pasuk very carefully, pasuk is like this: "L'kachtem lochem, you shall take for yourself." By Yomi the 4 minutes, you should take for yourself on the first day. In front of Hashem of God, for 7 days. The way we explain the pasuk is as follows: rejoice in front of Hashem for 7 days. Take all Arba Minim in front of Hashem for all 7 days. That is the second half of the pasuk. The first half the pasuk mentions nothing about being in front of Hashem. The first half of the pasuk, before we darshan like this, wherever you are, take for yourself the pasuk. This is the actual meaning. Wherever you are, take for yourself the 4 minim, and then usmach and rejoice. That is the taking Arba Minim in front of Hashem for the whole 7 days. Okay. Why did it say B'yom Hovishim? Only on the first day Sukkot to the Arba Minim Derech Shabbos. And more now analyzes this price. The whole Issa. What's the Issa shake Arba Minim on Shabbos? Muktzah. So the whole problem is Muktzah. It's a Chol and Mishri total. How can you have a possible? In the days of the Torah, there was no Issa or Muktzah. Muktzah came much later. So the Torah says you're allowed to shake B'yoyim. You could have said B'rishon. It says B'yoyim B'rishon to tell you you're allowed to shake Arba Minim on Shabbos. Why would you have thought otherwise? The whole issue of shaking Arba Minim is only because of Muktzah. But Muktzah never existed in the time of the Torah. So what's the Torah telling you that you're allowed to shake? So the Gemara says, to prepare the lulav. We had it in Shabbos, Rabbi Lezer came up with a very big chiddush that whenever something is Derech Shabbos, not just the mitzvah is Derech Shabbos, but the preparation for the mitzvah is Derech Shabbos. That means, for example, Brismila is Derech Shabbos. According to Rabbi Lezer, you're even allowed to go to the mountain to cut out yourself a piece of steel to prepare a knife to do Brismila on Shabbos, or to burn a fire to sharpen the blade. All that is permitted. So Arba Minim, part of the preparation is to cut the lulav off the tree. So according to Rabbi Lezer, we need a special heter that you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. By Libadai, the Tanya lulav v'chol machshiu of dichlis Shabbos tivei Rabbi Lezer. It says, "On my time of Rabbi Lezer, Amar Kol b'yom afilu b'Shabbos." It says b'yom, even on Shabbos, we do everything. But what do they do with the word b'yom? The mitzvah of Arba Minim is only during the day. If you shake the Arba Minim at night, it's not yotz. How does he know they're not allowed to shake the Arba Minim at night? 7 days. That mitzvah in the base of Mikdash of 7 days shaking the Arba Minim also says the word days. Yomim v'lo leilos. If we would only learn from the second half of the pasuk, which is referring to the mitzvah of 7 days shaking the Arba Minim base of Mikdash, I would have said later if Yomim is Succa. I would have learned from Succa that just like that it says 7 days, and the mitzvah is sitting in the Sukkah both by day and by night. The Torah had to say twice Yom and not night. So that comes out like this. According to the pasuk says V'kachtem lochem b'yoyim tells you even on Shabbos. Oh, what's the Issa on Shabbos according to Rabbi Lezer? What's the Issa? Just shaking Abba Minim. What is Issa? According to Rabbi Lezer, the Chiddush is you're allowed to cut down your Abba Minim on Shabbos to be able to shake. The Chachamim learned by Yomi, only during the day. You're not allowed to shake Abba Minim at night. The end of the process says Shivas Yomi. Rabbi Lezer says you can learn that day and not night. The Chachamim say you need an extra drasha because you might learn it out from some. Rashi points out that it comes out that really min haTorah you're supposed to shake the Abba Minim on Shabbos. You're supposed to. According to Rabbi Lezer, it's a special drasha by Yom Shabbos. According to the Chachamim, you don't need a drasha. And the Chachamim came along, and what did they say? Don't shake. How can they do such a thing? How can a D'Rabbanan be Oikeh D'Oraisa? And Rashi says that, one of the tells us, that Chazal are able to be Oikeh Mitzvah B'Shev Ba'al Taisa, meaning, don't do it. They can't tell you to go against the Torah, to be over. The Torah says, don't eat Chazal, and the Chachamim can't say, eat it, because then you're going actively against the Torah. But passively not doing what the Torah says, that the Chachamim have the power. Okay. So the Gemara says like this. We're now establishing that there's a big difference between lulav and sukkah. Sukkah applies day and night. Lulav only during the day. How do we know lulav only during the day? Yeah. Or from the parts of Shivas Yomi, it depends if you like Chachamim like Rabbi Lezer. But how do you know by sukkah it's all 7 days and nights? The Torah about sukkah stays Shivas Yomi. Yomi mafilu leilu stays and even night. Ato, you say Yomi mafilu leilu stays and the night. Or Yomi below leilu, maybe it's day but not night. Maybe at night you should have no mitzvah to sit in the sukkah. They didn't. I'll prove it to you that there's no mitzvah to sit in the sukkah at night. How can I prove to you there's no mitzvah to sit in the sukkah at night? Nema kan Yomi v'nema belulav Yomi. It says over here by sukkah days, and it says by the lulav days. It's just like by the lulav, it's days and not night. So over here, it's days and not night. So you've got a proof that you don't need the sukkah at night. So maybe you think about it a different way, go in a different direction. When the Mishkan was inaugurated, for 7 days, Aaron and his sons had to sit in the chutzah of the oil moed. Now the Pasuk says it very clearly. Pesach oil moed, by the entrance of the oil moed, Teshvu Yomim v'layla. You shall sit day and night. So the third day is very clearly day and night. Shivas Yomim, 7 days. Now the Torah says Shivas Yomim by Succa, and it says Shivas Yomim by Miluim. It also says Shivas Yomim by Lulav. And the question is, when Torah says Shivas Yomim by Succa, which one should we compare it to? Should we compare it to the Shivas Yomim of the Miluim, or should we compare it to the Shivas Yomim of the Arba Minim? Says what like this. Mala halon, just like the Miluim, Yomim afilu leilu, stays an even night after Yomim afilu leilu. Nira, let us see. Lemi doimer, what is it more similar? Dodim dovish mitzvasa kala yoyim, dovish mitzvasa kala yoyim, but yichach dovish mitzvasa shoachas. Arba Minim, is there a mitzvah to carry it all day? No. How do you know there's no mitzvah to actually hold Arba Minim all day? Because the Torah says v'lo kachtam. V'lo kachtam lochem. V'lo kachtam means to take. Taking means when you take something. If I say to take something, I'm not telling you to carry, to burden, to have it all the time. That it should be by you. It says lekachtem. Lekachtem just means the kicha, which I think a good English word for lekicha. It means just to take something. To taking literally means to take it for a moment, to pick it up for a second to bring you to the mitzvah. Where the sukkah it says teishvu, you shall live, and by the miluim it also says you shall live. So there it was a full day mitzvah. So the question is, if you want to compare, the Torah says Shivas Yomim in 3 different places. Shivas Yomim by Lulav, it says, and there we know it means day, not night. It says Shivas Yomim by the Miluim, and there it means day and night, because the Torah says clearly Yom v'layla. And we have Shivas Yomim by Sukkah, where the Torah does not tell us yes night or not night. We've got no Mekur. By Lulav, the Torah says clearly not night. By the Miluim, it says yes night. The Shayla is by Sukkah. So the Gemara says, let's compare Sukkah to Shivas Yomim, because they're much more similar. In what way are they similar? Both Sukkah and Shivas Yomim is a constant mitzvah, it's a full day mitzvah, while Arba Minim is only a momentary mitzvah. Or he says, well, no, you can think about it a different way. Lulav and Sukkah have a common denominator in the sense that they're a mitzvah which lasts forever. Lulav lasts forever, Sukkah lasts forever. But the mitzvah of sitting by the Mishkan for the 7 days, which the Aaron and his 4 sons had to do, that was only for that time. But the Don't we get proof for the Menuhin? Shein Nagin the Durs, don't write the which doesn't happen for future. Talmud Lema, top of the Menuhin base. Teishu, Shava, Rabik, Shava, Teishu. Nema can Teishu, Nema Menuhin, Teishu. Malhalon, Yomi, Mafili Lelis, Afkan Yomi, Mafili Lelis. We do Shava. And the Shava tells us that what? That the Succa will stay on that. That means what the Gemara does is the Gemara tries every way to prove it from Mamot Sina and everything else. The Gemara says there's no choice. You have to come to the Shava to prove it. Okay. Okay. So we've got three things. Lulav is day, not night. Shos V'Num is day and night, and so is Succa. Says the Gemara, Avova Shiva Ketzad. One of the most challenging things about the Avova is that there's huge arguments. What exactly went on in the Beis Hamikdash with the Avova? We all know that there was a mitzvah to shake the Arba Minim on Sukkot in the Beis Hamikdash for all 7 days. The rest of the world is only for 1 day. Nowadays we do our bottom, we do it 7 days everywhere, but Maisa usually was only in the Beis Hamikdash for 7 days. Besides that, there was a mitzvah of Avova. The mitzvah of Avova, what we do know about it, is that they would take long Avova branches, lean them on the side of the Mizbeach, and these were very tall Avova. Does anybody know how high they were? At least 11. We won't talk about it because that had to be from the floor to the height of the Mizbeach and lean over. The Mizbeach was 10 amas high. 11 amas, we're talking about approximately 4 meters long. More. 11 amas is 6.11 is according to the Chazish, 6.6 meters. No, it's 4 point something. Okay. They're massive, long avovos. And they would lean them on the walls of the Mizbeach to beautify the Mizbeach. It was a special mitzvah min haTorah. This is a mitzvah min haTorah. It's not a mitzvah which is so clearly. Does anybody know a code to this mitzvah from the Torah, by the way? Somebody might remember. Okay, Arvei Nochal. When it talks about the Arvei Minim, it says Arvei Nochal in the plural. Some say that it means one for the. No. Besides for that, they would also encircle the Mizbeach. And here we have a very, very big argument. What exactly did they do? Did they walk around the Mizbeach holding a lulav and then holding Arvei Minim? Did they walk around the Mizbeach holding just the Avovas? Did they not bother walking around the Mizbeach? They just leaned the Avovas on the Mizbeach. That means everybody agrees they leaned the Avovas on the Mizbeach. The question is, what else did they do? And this is a big machlokas. And not only that, there's a machlokas, for example, in the Rashi and the Rambam. After they leaned the Avovas, did they shake the Avovas or did they bang the Avovas on the floor? The Rambam says they banged it. Rashi says they never banged it. And what happened was, this is all a machlokas, is what went on during when the Beis Hamikdash was built. What we do nowadays in the Shana Rabbah is a zeicha to what they did in the Beis Hamikdash. Also, the Hishanas that we walk around the Bima is a zeicha to the fact that they walked around the Mizbeach. Rashi in Tshuvas, Rashi wrote a sefer, a collection of Tshuvas, questions and answers was that, like Tshuvas. There he was asked that since Rashi himself, the Maskana writes, that they would walk around the Mizbeach with Avovas, why do we walk around the Mizbeach with Arba Minim? They asked as a kasha to why do we walk around with 4 minim? There's too many answers in the Shunim, either because it was just a memory. What? No, the question is on Sukkot we do 2 things. We shake the Arba Minim during Halal, and then we say Hoshana and we walk around the Bim. No, we should just leave the Arba Minim on the table, take a bunch of Avos and walk around them. When you say Hoshanas, walk around the Hoshanas. In fact, actually, because of that, it's a raya that maybe the Beis Hamikdash, they also walked around the Shanas. It is very, very disturbing that something that took place for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there's such a fundamental argument as to what exactly happened. I was very disturbed. I asked, tried to verify. Nobody, I'm not saying anybody discussed this problem. It's a problem which we have with other Gemaras. Whenever the Gemara has an argument about what went on in the Beis Hamikdash, she always asks the question, why did nobody remember what went on? It's not that many years before when they were discussing. Now we don't remember. But in those days, that is the question. Now the halacha is that the avova, that means whatever they did, placing the avova against the woman's beach, etc., or walking around with the avova, all that was not deicha Shabbos, but one exception. On the Shana Rabbah, it was deicha Shabbos. On the 7th day, it was deicha Shabbos. It says about this, avova shiva ketzat, avova b'shvi ma'itamed achir Shabbos. Why is it deicha Shabbos? Why don't we say, like Rabbi said earlier, that what you might take it to a Talmud Chacham and ask him questions. That people should know that it's min haTorah, because since people do not know the mitzvah of avova is min haTorah, so we had to make sure that they would push away Shabbos. Let everybody know that it should be Doicha Shabbos, because Rashi points out that even though you don't need to advertise, however, you need to tell people that it's been Torah. Why do you need to tell people? Because it's not so clearly in the Torah. Just but so that's why you need to tell you. But the Arba Minim is clearly in the Torah. Says Rashi, it's not true. Because the mitzvah of shaking Arba Minim for 7 days in the Beis HaMikdash is not so clearly stated in the Torah. In fact, how do we know you have to shake Arba Minim in the Beis HaMikdash for 7 days? No. No, how do you know you have to shake Arba Minim all 7 days in the Beis HaMikdash? So that mitzvah of shake Arba Minim all 7 days is also not so clear. So therefore the Gemara says, let's advertise, let's let people know that there's a mitzvah to shake Arba Minim all 7 days. So the Gemara says, Lulav gzeh mishum de Rabba. We didn't want to because of words about Rabba. Let's make that same gzeh about Rabba. The answer is that avova wasn't done by every single person. It was only done by the shlichei beis din. They would cut down these avovas, bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, and the kohanim would lean it on the mizbeach. So therefore, these kinds of people, we can trust them. There won't be mechal Shabbos. Mashenkin Arba Minim is given to every single Yid. If we allow every single Yid to shake the Arba Minim, there's a chance of the mechal Shabbos. If we're not concerned about Chil Shabbos because we know they'll do it right, so let's say, for example, Shabbos is the second day Sukkot, and we want to put our bovas against the walls of the Mizbeach. What's the halach? It's not Doicha Shabbos. Only Doicha Shabbos on the 7th day. Why not? Why is it not Doicha putting the bovas on the walls of the Mizbeach of any day of the week? Any if Shabbos is any day of Sukkot? Why? Because since the whole problem why you shouldn't do it is because of Gzeh Rabba, you might carry it from Shabbat, but that Gzeh doesn't apply because it was only done by Shluchei Beis Din. So every single day is Doicha Shabbos. Says the Gemara, people will start saying, wow, Avova is Doicha Shabbos anytime it happens, any day of Sukkot. But the Arba Minim is only Doicha on the first day. So people will start saying, well, obviously the Arba Minim is not so important. And they will realize the difference is that Lulav is done by everybody, and therefore we're concerned with Mechal Shabbos, and Avov is only done by Shlichei Beis. I'm not concerned. They'll just see this as a zuzul in Lulav. If that's the case, we have to choose one day that the Avov pushes away Shabbos. If that's the case, let's use the first day Sukkot. Why wait till the 7th day of Sukkot? It says, well, people won't realize you're doing it because of a mitzvah. They'll say, they'll say really like this. Avov is not so important. The only reason you're allowed to do the Avov on first day Sukkot if it's a Shabbos is simply because it's pushing away because of the Arba Minim, so it's pushing away because of the Lulav. And we want to show people that Avov is a special mitzvah. Since we want to show people Avov is a special mitzvah, we have to choose a different day to show that Avov is Doicha Shabbos. Says the Gemara, that's the case. So choose a different day, second day or third day. So we put, once you don't do the first, we do the last. So let's summarize very briefly. Everybody agrees that we have the concern of Rabba, both by Lulav and by Avova. In theory, we would have the problem that we do not want to Mechal Shabbos because of the problem that you might come to carry it. Therefore, by Arba Minim, it's never Doicha Shabbos. The exception is only on the first day. And the reason is, the first day we said, since everywhere in the world there's a mitzvah to shake the Arba Minim, on the first day, it's a special day, so it's Doicha Shabbos. When it comes to the Avova, we couldn't choose the first day because of the fact that maybe people will think it's only because of the Lulav and not won't realize the Avova special. Once we don't choose the first day, we choose the last day. And we're not concerned that it should be Doicha Shabbos because of the Gzeh of Rabba. Reason being, because it's only done by Shluchei Beis Din. And really, we would push it every day, but we don't do Mezazah in Lulav. Let's push it away today nowadays. For example, if Hoshana Rabbah was a Shabbos, or that we should be allowed to do it even on Shabbos. So Gemara says, we do not know when it is. Those in there, it's so should be Doicha Shabbos. It never happens. Hoshana Rabbah will never happen on a Shabbos. Now, this Tosfos It never happens. In other words, lo yikla never happens. The taste is the third taste first. Brings you Yerushalmi. This is a fascinating Yerushalmi. Now, as a young boy, I saw that somebody showed me this Yerushalmi. It always struck me very, very strong to show you the koyach of based in, not the easiest Yerushalmi, but if you read it through, you'll get amazement what the Yerushalmi says. Let's do it inside. That means like this: Hoshana Rabbah will never fall on Shabbos. You should know that Hoshana Rabbah will never ever fall on the Shabbos, right? It says Tosfos. If they would see that Hoshana Rabbah is going to be a Shabbos, what would they do? Add a date, another month, to make sure that Hoshana Rabbah should not be in the Shabbos. Reb Simon, Mafkid, he commanded the ones that made the calendar. Reb Simon told them, I've got a certain command. What's my command? Don't allow first day of Rosh Hashanah to be a Shabbos. Because if first day of Rosh Hashanah is a Shabbos, what's going to happen? You won't blow shofar. And I don't want Hoshana Rabbah to be a Shabbos because they won't shake the Shabbos, won't do the banging of the Shabbos. If you've got no choice, that means I've asked you for two separate things. Not to have first day of Rosh Hashanah Shabbos, not to have Hoshana Rabbah Shabbos. Not always is it so easy. Make the Tkiyas Shofar to be a Shabbos. But don't make the Arav on the Shabbos. It comes out that if Rosh Hashanah first day is a Shabbos, first day Succa is the Shabbos. You know, that's always just the same day, right? If Rosh Hashanah first day is a Shabbos, first day Succa is the Shabbos. It says Tosfos that if you're going to have a choice between making Hoshana Rabbah a Shabbos, better make Rosh Hashanah and first day Succa a Shabbos than to make Hoshana Rabbah a Shabbos. Now, if you make Rosh Hashanah and first day Succa a Shabbos, what are you going to have? No Tkiyas Shofar and no shaking of the lulav min haTorah, because the rest of the Sukkah is only D'Rabbanan. So you're going to miss out on two huge mitzvahs D'Oraisa. If you have Hoshana Rabbah on the Shabbos, which mitzvah are you going to lose out? Well, actually, no mitzvah at all. Because nowadays we don't do the Arav on the Mizbeach. What do? We bang the Arav on the floor, we wave the Arav. It depends if you're like Rashi or the Rambam. Rashi would just wave the Arav. The Rambam would bang the Arav. We nowadays do both. But the reality is that you wouldn't lose any mitzvah at all. But the Reb Simon commanded the people that make the Luach, when you've got a choice to lose either Rosh Hashanah or Sukkot or Hoshana Rabbah, you must make sure, and the reason is, Tosfos explains, says Tosfos, V'teima. Oh, they say Tosfos again. We don't care about it, and sometimes we lose out. Shofar happens sometimes. First day Rosh Hashanah, first day Sukkot, the Shabbos we don't. It comes out the other way around. That the Avova, which isn't even a Zeichen and Mikdash, we're still concerned, but the Shofar not not. Since Avova is only midrabanan, people will start being mezalzel in it. Since they start being mezalzel in it, therefore they said, come what may, we have to have Hoshana Rabbah. Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot, nobody's going to be mezalzel because it's D'Oraisa, and that we can forgo. It's an unbelievable koyach that the Chachamim had, that they're ready to lose, so to speak, Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot, as long as you have Hoshana Rabbah. Yomi, this is another answer. That Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days, Sukkot is always 2 days. So if you lose the first day of Rosh Hashanah for Tkiyas Shofar, you'll get the second day. If you lose the first day Sukkot of Sheikh Dawah, you'll get the second day. But Hoshana Rabbah is only 1 day. We don't do 2 days of Hoshana Rabbah. Why don't we do 2 days of Hoshana Rabbah? Just ask the question, why not? Well, it's Kasher Shvunei Atzeret. So it's Kasher Shvunei Atzeret, therefore we can't do it. So Tosfos says, let's read it very quickly. The way to the calendar, you will never have a Hoshana Rabbah on the Shabbos. You may have shofar, you may have lulav on the Shabbos. Okay. So the Gemara tells us, let's go very briefly what we said. The Gemara asks the question, why is it not Doiches Shabbos? Because at the end of the day, it should be. The Gemara says, Lo ikra. It will never happen. So the question doesn't start. Fade the Gemara. Says, well, you're wrong. He also Ravin when Ravin came and all those who came from Eretzol, it does happen. It does happen on Shabbos. And it doesn't push away Shabbos. So back to square one. Why is not Derech Shabbos? Yeah, the Gemara throws in a whole new point. Understands like this. There were two parts to the Arava, and everybody agrees. Another one is they would take the Arava, wave it, and what do we do with the Arava? Do we need to Mizbeach? No, don't have Mizbeach. All we do is wave it, bang it, walk around with it, depending on your minhag. Says the Gemara, if in the Beis Hamikdash all they ever did was Mizbeach, and all we are doing today is not actually doing the mitzvah which they did the Beis Hamikdash. So it's just stam and minhag. If it's stam and minhag, for such a thing, we can't be doich Shabbos. That's what the Gemara says. But if, for example, in the Beis Hamikdash, they would have walked around the Mizbeach with it, then when we walk around with our Arava nowadays, what we're doing is a proper Zeicher Hamikdash. If it's a proper Zeicher Hamikdash, it would be the Shabbos. So it depends on what they did in the Beis Hamikdash with the Arava as to whether nowadays. That's just, if you look in Rashi on Zeicher Hamikdash Shabbos, who told you that Arava Beis Hamikdash was taken and waved? Then nowadays when we wave it, it's Zeicher Hamikdash B'Teicha Shabbos. Dima b'skifa shenoik v'neisa b'yad. That is Zeicher Tzam Mizbeach Lechot because the time must listen. Bashem Mizbeach Lechot. Meaning, if they wave the Arava Mizbeach Beis Hamikdash, so nowadays we do the same. We should do Shabbos. If all they ever did was lean it against the Mizbeach, and nowadays we know is, did they actually wave it or not? That's the question. Did they just lean it on the Mizbeach, or did they actually walk around the Mizbeach with it or not? Eisra Abaya. Lulav Arava Shisha v'Shiva. The Lulav Arava is 6 or 7. My love Kilulav. My Lulav v'Netila. Just like the Lulav, we take it and wave it off Arava v'Netila, and therefore it's a proof that the Arava in the Beis Hamikdash was shaken. No, midi area can't prove it. How could they say? What could they say? Maybe the Arava they just lean it on the walls. You're going to Eisra Abaya. B'cholim we keep it on his back Machas. Every day they would walk on his back one day. When the Shana Rabbi go around his back 7 times. Rashi says a very nice thing. He says, you, Rabbi Yosef, said that what do? You just lean the Arava on the Mizbeach and you don't walk around with it. Then what did you do on the Shana Rabbi 7 times? You can't lean it on the Mizbeach 7 times. The fact that the Shana Rabbi they did it 7 times obviously means they encircled the Mizbeach 7 times. So what did they do 7 times? My lab, they walked around with the Arava 7 times. He says, well, they walked around with the lulav. They walked around the Mizbeach with an Arava. You see, says they walked around with the Arava. I said they walked around the lulav. Again, I'm very disturbed that the Gemara over here is arguing. What did they do when they were around the Mizbeach? Did they carry an Arava? Did they carry a lulav? Did they do it's Rabbi Loza, Rabbi Lulav, Rabbi Shmuel, Nasan Amar. He said they walked around with an Arava. Son of a Talmud Chacham. I'll tell you something which your father once said. That every day once, that day was 7 times. So we've got an argument that they walk around with the Arava, they walk around with the lulav. There's a shit that they don't walk around with anything. They just lean it on the Mizbeach, and therefore we don't know. And therefore the Gemara says like this at this stage at least. The reason why on the Shana Rabbah nowadays it's not Derech Shabbos is because since nowadays we don't lean it on the Mizbeach. And in times of the Beis Hamikdash, they did lean it on the Mizbeach. So what we're doing today is not really what they did in time of the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it's not real Zeicher Hamikdash, therefore it should be Derech Shabbos. Says the Gemara, the first day, like we said in our Mishnah, and Avova on the last day. Once the Avova was meant to be a Shabbos, Shabbos was a Shabbos. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to do anything that you could have done before Shabbos. So the cutting down of the Avovas, what did they do? They did before for the next day. Even and since they did not believe in Torah Shabbat Peh, they refused to accept the concept of leaning the Avovas in this Mizbeach. It's not clear in the Torah. So what did they do? But not they piled on them stones. Why did they pile on them stones? Because they knew that stones are muktzah, and they knew that nobody would take them out. There were people who are Me'oretz, people who are good people, but they were not knowledgeable people. They took the top out of the stones. They do not agree that chibut avova is derech Shabbos. Here we're going to have this word chibut a number of times. Normally the word chibut is translated as what? Banging. And Rashi is at pains again and again because Rashi holds you never banged the avova. Rashi holds you just waved the avova. Rashi says chibut just means to shake. Here Rashi doesn't emphasize it so much, but Amaisa Rashi on Daf Memdalad on its base writes chavit loshini nua means to shake. So Rashi holds you don't bang the avova, you just shake the avova. Amaisa. The fact that it mentions chibut, which means shaking or banging, is clearly said that what we said before, that all you did to the avava was lean it on the mizbeach and nothing else, is not true. They obviously did something extra, and that was that they would also wave the avava. So the Gemara says, "Alma benetilahi," you do wave the avava to Yufta. It's a kashan Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef was the one who said that you don't shake the avava, you just lean the avava against the mizbeach and you walk around without a minute. Is a kasha on of Yosef. So now I just want to point out one thing which all the posts discuss. These Amoratzim, they took the avavas from underneath the stones. Did they do an aveva or not? What would you say? Yeah, not in the case where Chazal established a certain thing. Here it's a new shvus. You can't do the stones. What? Oh, I always say better. It depends how they did it. If they pulled the avos from underneath the stones, they've done nothing wrong. Why? If on Shabbos, for example, you've got a gemara, and on top of your gemara, you've got your pen, and you want your gemara, you're allowed to pull your gemara from underneath the pen. There's nothing wrong, right? So if they pulled the avos from underneath the stones, they did nothing wrong, as Chaim said. But if they picked up the stones and took it away, so that was forbidden. And there's a machlekes what actually happened in this particular context. What went on? Okay, that's a side point. So the Gemara says that we come back to the original, to the fact that the avava was shaken on Sukkot. If it was, so we're back to square one. Why is the Shana Rabbah not derech Shabbos? Answers the Gemara. But says the Gemara, in the Chutz La'aretz, we can't on the Shana Rabbah bang the avavas or shake the avavas on Shabbos. Why can't we do it in Chutz La'aretz? Because Suffolk, we're not 100% sure it is a Shana Rabbah. Since we can't, they can't. Why? Because if people there saw wood and we don't, it would come to a whole mixture of what's going on. And therefore we don't. So for nowadays, nobody shakes the lulav on the first day Sukkot. Not even in Eretz Yisrael. Why not? Because the people in the Chutz La'aretz can't shake lulav on first day Sukkot. Why not? Because we don't know which day is the first day. So that we said before the first day Sukkot, they are doich. Top of the no. Only they do nami loidachi. It's not doich even in Eretz Yisrael. So for the comes out, we do not shake lulav in Eretz Yisrael even first. Now, earlier the Gemara said that they did. Earlier the Gemara mentioned two brises, if you remember. One brise says that they take the lulav on Friday to the Beis Hamikdash, and the other one said on Friday you take it to shul. And we asked the stira between the two. And what did we answer? Oh, very good. When the Beis was standing, you take it to the Beis Hamikdash, but the Beis was not standing, you take it to shul in order to shake the lulav on Shabbos in shul. But that clearly is the opposite of what we just said, because we just said that nobody ever shakes the lulav on Shabbos, not even in Eretz Yisrael. Why not? Because we can't, because we're not sure which day is Yom Tov, and therefore they can't, because we can't split Klal into two and start confusing people. But the kasha and itati, the talichot, this kasha, we've got the two things. The talichot, the kolom, munich, this in the Narabayis, to take the Shani, the Saknesis. Oh, it has seen on me answer, like this, the Kamas Vash, with the Shkayam. So the Gemara says, no, we've got a different answer. With the standing. There were some people that lived in Yerushalayim, and they would take the Avaminim to the Beis Hamikdash on Friday. But there were people that lived outside Yerushalayim, and they would take the Avaminim to Shul. But after Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, nobody shakes the Avaminim on Shabbos. So why? When the Beis Hamikdash was standing, so what happened was everybody knew that these people can and these people can't, and therefore it didn't matter so much. Once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, If we're going to say that people in Eretz Yisrael can shake lulav, people Chutzla's not, it'll confuse people. So it comes like this: when the Beis Midrash was standing, everybody shook lulav on the first day who lived in Eretz Yisrael, but not those who lived in Chutzlaretz, even if it was a Shabbos. Some took it to Beis Hamikdash, some took it to Shul, depending how close you were to Beis Hamikdash. Once Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, it's not Derech Shabbos, not in Eretz Yisrael, not in Chutzlaretz, neither lulav nor avava. So if a shanavava would fall on Shabbos, we would not bang the avavas. But the Maisa, it never ever happens because, as Tesis tells us, Big Avichus from the Yerushalmi, Simon told them to make sure that never happens because they're concerned that we'd forget this minhag of banging our hots. We're up to Omer Abba. We'll stop here. So now tomorrow's shir will be straight after the Shabbos, and then next week we asked before the shir. Most people seem to want. Oh no, Shabbos. It goes earlier. I looked at it. I think 10 past on Sunday or something, and then afterwards gets to 5 past. And I mentioned something. I can't remember. It does get earlier and earlier. I'm flexible. But I think most people prefer that to come to Mincha Ma'ariv, that they should have to stay for the shir, otherwise go home for 20 minutes and come back, or half an hour. It doesn't seem worth it. But so Shabbos, I still prefer shir to be 6:05. If it's very difficult for people, especially because now there's not so much time. Yeah, you okay with it? Okay, so Shabbos the shir will be 6:05, and the next week we'll follow Mincha Ma'ariv. If too many people, if a few people don't like it. When? No, we could move it to Shkia. We could move it to Shkia, but they saw it's not good.
Maybe you can do
disrupt the basic soul schedule. But I don't think if people find that very difficult, is it very difficult if somebody says the time's getting too early? Shachas is 7:25, I think.